what I expected out of this. The true Bible, the book of our Father.
Right. The Most High has given us guidance on what we need to do.
Talk to Eli.
Talk to my son.
Talk to Ezekiel.
Shalom, Israel. Shalom, Most High in Christ. Bless you all. Happy prep day as we prep to our Sabbath. We're continuing on in our series. The Unionized. I'm trying to get my notes together. What was it? Say it, please. Say it. Okay, No, that wasn't the name of it. What was it for? The Unionized. The Unionized. Oh God. Brothers and sisters, we had a whole lot of difficulties, and I can't even get my notes or anything to show up on the screen here, so I'm just going through all kind of craziness. We've had a severe internet problem, and we've been working with it and had all kind of craziness that happened today, but once again, I'm glad to be here. And we're going to try to make this thing work. But I'm working on part 3 of our program, and I'm trying to get my information up here on the screen so I can stay consistent. I don't like taking us all around the world in certain when I'm teaching. So the unionized scientific oppression of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's the name of our topic, and the subtitle will be the psychological killing field, the psychological killing field. And there was a lot of things that was done to us that brought us into the mess that we're in today. So I want to go into, I remember last week I talked about that I was going to bring out the experiments that was done, because we were talking about the scientific oppression. So I actually wanted to get into the scientific part of the class. Okay, we've been going over scriptures. We even went in our first episode, we talked about Alexander and the Greeks and all of that and how they came into power and things of that. And now we're coming down in through our history, and we want to understand that all of the nations, give me the scripture like I set it off. Give me Psalms 83, verse 2 to 4. We're not a hate group, brothers and sisters. I think we can get that on the board while we're doing that. Let's get that up there. Let's get that out of the way, yes, while I still try to put my information together. Brothers and sisters, I pray that you bear with us. We're going to make sense out of this thing. Okay, put that up there.
Israel united in Christ. We are not a hate group. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a non-violent, Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat, as stated in Leviticus chapter 5, verse 1, King James Version.
All praise to the Most High. So this is what we have to deal with. Because people are constantly trying to make us out to be what we're not. We're not a terrorist group. We're not a hate group. We're not any of those derogatory terms. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Okay, that's who we are. And just because we are the Israelites, there has been a concerted effort to keep the Israelites from knowing who they are. Hence, the unionized scientific oppression of our people, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. So let me just reiterate about the unionized. Let's read that. Tell them where you're at. This is Psalms 83, verse 2 to 4.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83, verses 2 to 4. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They that hate the nation of Israel, they that hate the Most High, they have lifted up their head, meaning that they've usurped themselves as the people of God above the real people of God, above the Israelites. You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Indians, you're the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans. All right, read that again.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They that hate us have lifted up their head in proudness against Israel. Read.
They have taken crafty counsel.
They have taken crafty counsel. Crafty counsel meaning like a unified council, an agreed council. They've all sat down and plotted and planned on how to destroy the nation of Israel. Okay, all together in unison, hence the unity. Read it again.
They have taken crafty counsel.
They have taken, all our enemies, the nations, have taken crafty counsel
against thy people.
Against one people. The thy people is the people of God. The thy people is the Israelites. Give me Deuteronomy, 6 and 7, 7 and 6. Thou art a holy people. Yeah, read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 7.
They have taken crafty counsel against the people of God. Let's see if the people of God is all nations. Read.
Verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
For thou, the Israelites, this whole book, Deuteronomy, is the words that Moses gave to Israel from God. Okay, and Moses was telling the Israelites that you, meaning us, the Israelites, are a holy people unto the Father, unto the Most High. Go ahead. Unto what? Read it again.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
The Lord thy God have chosen the Israelites, have chosen the nation of Israel to be a special people unto the Most High. Go ahead.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Above everybody that's upon the face of the earth. So that's the thy people that we're reading about. That's the nation of Israel. Upon, what does it say? Read that again.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So Israel is above all people that are upon the globe. The Israelites. Okay, read on.
The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people.
No, he didn't choose us because we were more, because we weren't more. Go ahead.
For ye were the fewest of all people.
For the Israelites, the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel was the fewest of all people. Go ahead, read that again.
The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people.
Not because we was more in number than everybody else. Come on.
For ye were the fewest of all people.
The Most High said, because if that's the case, you were the fewest. You were the least amount. Go ahead.
But
this is the reason why I chose you. Listen good. Go ahead.
But because the Lord loved you.
That's the reason why the Most High said that. That he's in John 3:16. Because the Lord loved you. Read that statement again. But this is the understanding of John 3:16 right here. Read it.
But because the Lord loved you.
So I didn't choose you because you was the greatest of all people in terms of number, because you were the fewest. But here's the reason why I chose you. Because you I love. Read that statement again. But what?
But because the Lord loved you.
That's the reason why we are the favored among the Most High. Come on.
And because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers.
Because he would keep the oath that he had swore unto our fathers. The oath, meaning a promise that he cannot break. Okay? The oath that he swore unto our fathers. So now that we got that understanding, go back to where we was at in Psalms. Because we're the people of the Most High. There ain't no other people that belong to God but us.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
The nations, the unionized nations, the nations that are in agreement, they have taken crafty counsel against God's people, the same people that we just read about in Deuteronomy. That's talking about your forefathers. You so-called black men, West Indian, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Native American Indians. You're the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You're the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Read that statement again.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against the people of God. Come on.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And we are the hidden ones. They have consulted, planned, devised evil against thy hidden ones. Now we're going to talk about us being hidden, okay? Because one of the units of oppression was to hide who we are. And they did it scientifically. I want to go into something. I want to start pulling up my stuff about the science. I'm going to get into it early. Let me think, I sent it to you. I got to look it up because I was in the middle of sending it and it didn't happen. Just give me 1 second. Brothers, y'all got something to say? Cause what I want to do is I want to send them these things about the science, the scientific oppression.
Yes, sir. I heard a trailer for a movie coming out. Christopher Nolan, y'all know he directed Batman and Inception and all those films. He's directing a movie about Oppenheimer right here. So you talk about scientists. We have people of the other nations, Esau especially, who take these crafty counsels along with the other nations, in order to figure out how to do things that are beyond natural, that are supernatural. Actually, the trailer, I haven't seen it yet. I'm probably going to watch it after this.
Is that testing? Y'all got me? Okay. So also, I don't know. Also, yeah. Remember we was talking a little bit on I think it was last week, and that Larkin mentioned a movie trailer. Okay, I was thinking about the movie that came out. It's called Alice. Okay, and it showed. If y'all haven't watched it, go look it up. I think it's on Prime. You may have to pay for it, but it's on Prime. It's called Alice. So what it was is that she didn't realize she was a slave. Okay, she was a slave, and this is during the time in the 1970s. Officer Nashawn, you seen it yet? Yeah. So you know where I'm going, right? So here it is. This is a woman. I forget her name. What's her name, Officer? You know her name? Kiki Palmer. Right. She plays Alice, but she was on a plantation with her family. Okay, and a lot of them hadn't realized this actually was when you find out. I ain't gonna spoil it for you, but I got to give some of it just to give you the idea where I'm going. But she thought she was still living in the slave time, okay? And she literally was, okay, by her oppressor, by her enemies, okay? Not really knowing, again, we see that even today. It's still the same way today, whether we realize it's not here in America, Babylon the Great, Our people don't really know who they are, okay? And we read Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6 the bishop was bringing out, and we don't realize that God does love us, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American, okay? And we don't even realize that we are God's people, okay? And then when you we just brought out Psalms 83, okay, said let us cut them off, from being a nation. They're the hidden ones, okay? So when I watched that movie, again, Alice, okay, you can pull the trailer up and watch it for yourself. Just look at the trailer. You'll see the same in the movie is being portrayed when you read the Psalms 83, okay? So it's very relevant for the day. It's a movie, but it's very relevant for the day according to the scriptures. Bishop, you go ahead.
All right. Hey, I'm starting to try to get my way here. The video, I just sent y'all the videos. Just started from the beginning. Before we play it, now I'm dealing with the part about the hidden ones. I'm going to show you that our enemies conspire to hide who we truly are. So that's what I want to get into now. Play the video. What I'm showing you now is we're going into, this is a video called The Dark Side of Science. The Milgram Experiment, 1963 short documentary. I'm not going through the whole thing. I just want you to hear certain things that's going to happen in the beginning of the video, and it's going to prove my point about the hidden ones. Before we play that, read that statement again out of that Bible.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
The whole planet Earth have taken crafty counsel against the nation of Israel. Okay, and it's important for us to understand that the whole earth did it. Because I'm going to say this now so I don't forget, because I got it somewhere else in my notes. I can't even pull my notes up. But the whole planet Earth, the whole world, the economy of the entire globe was made off of the exploitation and the death of the 12 tribes of Israel. Keep that in mind. All of the banks, all of the wealth that the nations got, they all got it through the slavery that they did to us here. Because America became the richest country on the planet. And how? Because America, what they say, she had 310 years of official slave labor where they did not have to pay a dime. Think about that. You got people working in every aspect of slavery, breeding us, building roads, building houses, building streets. Whenever we would make inventions to make our toiling in slavery a little bit easier, they take the inventions. So they left us with nothing. We've been stripped of our talents. We've been stripped of our name, our language, everything. And because of that, America was made rich because she did not have to pay a bill for all of this free work. So because she did that, all of the other countries benefited. As the Bible says, she laid down with them. They have committed fornication with this beast, with America. And the reason why they were able to do that was because America was lavished in abundance because she never had to pay for what they did to us. So keep that in mind about them being made rich. Not only America, the entire globe was made rich off of the destruction of the nation of Israel. Keep that in mind. Now read that Bible again.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel.
The nations understood that it was important for them to take crafty counsel in destroying God's people. They read this Bible. They know that the Israelites are like the scriptures say, you only have I known of all the nations of the earth. All of the nations know that. They know that the people of God is the children of Israel. So all of the nations say, listen, we got a bigger problem. Like it says it's going to happen when Christ comes back. They say, we got a bigger problem. Those are the people of God. We got to destroy them. We have to keep them from knowing their history. Keep them asleep. Keep them on drugs. Keep them on frolic and foolishness. That's all of them think that way. Read that again.
They have taken crafty counsel.
All of the nations have taken unionized, sophisticated, scientific counsel to destroy the Israelites and to make us love it. That's the other part about this oppression. The psychological killing field. They killed our minds. They killed our will to even want to be free. Our behavior was modified. Our behavior is modified. We've been made into a new people. We've been made into something else. And we've been made to love it, the majority of us. We've been made to embrace this new identity. We've been made to embrace this new behavior. And all of that was done through straight out atrocious actions, through murder, through rape, through experiments, through miseducation, bloodshed, you name it, they did it. All of that to modify our behavior to make us into perfect slaves. Like I said before, they take a responsibility for our past because they cut us off from that. We don't have any, we can't really learn about ourselves in history, in the truth. And then they take responsibility for your future because you figure you can't go no further than what a so-called white man allows you to go. So what does that do? That fixes you into the immediate present. And that's the perfect recipe for a perfect consumer. So why not spend all my money on Jordans and buy this and that and buy that because I have no future because I'm waiting for you to tell me where I can go in terms of my future. And if you don't give me the direction, then I'm stuck here. I know nothing about my past, so I can't rely on my past to tell me which way to go because I don't know which way I even came. All I know is that I'm here right now. You don't let me find out about that I'm an Israelite. You tell me I'm a Negro. You tell me that I'm a black man. I can't read about that in the Bible. So I'm fixed here. And then if I try to think about furtherness, you got that cut off. So again, we are modified to live right here as perfect consumers. That's where our mind is at. Where am I at? Read that again.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against the people of God. Go ahead.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And they have consulted against thy hidden ones. Hidden ones. Hidden ones. That's what I want to dwell on. Now, let's go to the video. Now, when we play the video, get it from the very beginning. this is what is known as Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment. Now, when I talk about the obedience experiment, I'm going to let it play, then I'm going to explain what they tried to make you believe concerning this. But that's the reason why I wanted to give you that information first about the whole earth was made rich by the destruction of Israel. Keep that in mind, meaning the Israelites, not these people who you call Jews. It's talking about the real Jews, us. The whole planet Earth has waxed rich because of the robbery of the 12 tribes of Israel. Play that clip. Let's get it in.
How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another? And could you be convinced to potentially injure or kill someone else? I'm not talking about self-defense or during war on the battlefield, but someone you have never met before and have had no interaction with previously.
I want to make sure that they can hear this because I'm not really hearing it clear for some reason up here. But I see they got the words on the screen. Back it up because I want to explain what y'all are seeing. Play it again.
How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another?
Stop. I'm going to break it down as we go. It says, so Stanley, what they're making a point in saying is that Stanley Milgram, he wanted to conduct an experiment to examine how is it that people could, what they call ordinary people, how could they be in a situation where they are told to kill and murder people because somebody above them told them to. That's what this whole experiment is supposed to be about. Let's back it up and let's play it again. I'm gonna let it play out so that they can hear it, so I ain't breaking it up so much. Start it again and let it play through.
How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another?
Mm-hmm.
And could you be convinced to potentially injure or kill someone else? I'm not talking about self-defense or during war on the battlefield, but someone you have never met before and have had no interaction with previously. How can perfectly normal people commit genocide? Like what we saw in the 1930s and 1940s in Europe, or even in Cambodia in the 1970s, amongst other events.
Stop.
What causes...
Stop. That's the part I wanted to get right there. He began to name atrocities in history. Okay, let's play it one more time. Now that you've all heard it, now I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you because it's going to go back to what I said about the hidden ones. Go ahead. Start it again. Genocide. As a matter of fact, I want to read it. I want to read it because his voice makes me sick. This guy that's reading, he's just throwing my spirit all off. Okay, start it again. I want to read what's on the screen. Okay, the Stanley Milgram experiment. Go ahead. How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another person? Stop it. So they're saying, how could an ordinary person be convinced? Could you back it up again? 'Cause I want to see the words. I want to see the words. Okay. How can a regular person stop? Yeah. How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another person? Now, before you play any further, this is what I was talking about when I mentioned about what is known as the Nuremberg trial. It was a trial that was done in Nuremberg, Germany, where they had a trial about the soldiers. They were trying to prosecute for what they call Nazi crimes. So they were saying, why did you soldiers put these so-called, well, they call them Jews, put these so-called Jews to death? And they said, well, we were obeying orders. Okay, so there was a whole lot of legislation that came out of that, meaning just to stop genocide and blah, blah, blah. And it was, quote, unquote, based on what we're looking at here. Okay, so Stanley Milgram was the so-called Jew himself. Okay, so that they'll tell you that in this documentary. But I ain't even get to my part yet. So go ahead, play on. I hope you brothers and sisters are with me. I know I'm kind of chopping it up, but I hope y'all can flow with what I'm trying to do because I'm trying to put it together the way I have my notes, but my notes, I didn't even print it up, and my systems here is not acting right. Play on. How can a regular person, I'm sorry, I didn't read it. How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another person? Go ahead. Next piece. I know it's going to play. Stop it. And could you be convinced to maybe injure or potentially kill someone? So they're asking, how could a person do this? What is the cause to make people do this? Go ahead. Okay, we go on to the next piece. It says, I'm not talking about self-defense during World War II. Slow it down, brothers. I can't read that fast. I'm looking at this little screen. I'm not talking about self-defense or during war on the battlefield. Go ahead. He said, I'm not speaking about that. Because at war, you're supposed to kill your enemies. But upon someone you have never met before and have had no interaction previously. So they're saying, how could you do this? Go ahead. But upon, did I miss something? But upon what? Previously. Go ahead. Next piece. But upon someone, did I miss something? I read it? Okay. How can perfectly normal people commit genocide? So that's what they're trying to say. Go ahead. Now here's what I want to get to. Like what we saw in the 1930s and the 40s. He's talking about the so-called Holocaust. So they wanted to mention that. Then it says, or in Cambodia in the 1970s. Then it says, amongst other events. So notice something. How in the world are you going to talk about Cambodia? How are you going to talk about what happened in quote-unquote Nazi Germany? Whatever scale you want to put it on, and they omit the slave trade. They're talking about some amongst other events. Play on. You ain't going to hear nothing about the blacks.
Hey, Bishop.
Yeah.
Like that's when it started.
Yeah.
You know, like they're not going back as far as
exactly
with atrocities.
They ain't bringing out. They're not even bringing out the fact of how they even got all the money that they gotten. They started off by saying that we want to do an experiment to deal with this, but in reality, the real experiment was about experimenting on our people, modifying our behavior. But they don't even want to bring us into conversation at all. 310 official years of chattel slavery? What people in the planet ever served that kind of punishment?
Hey, Bishop, I was watching this, I don't know if anybody ever heard it. It's this show called Atlanta. It's on like the 4th episode, and it's called The Payback. And it's going to exactly what you're speaking of, Bishop, about whites owning slaves and how they benefit today off of black labor. I just want to read something real quick. This is an article. It's called The Gero. All right. It says it's about the show Atlanta. This one is Atlanta's version of a Black Mirror episode. It brings to life the idea that sure, no white American alive owned slaves, but even modern white people benefit from the fact that their ancestors owned slaves. Slaveholding set up a multi-generational chain of events that has led to white people owning most of the wealth in America and black people owning almost none of it. The slave trade is the reason why America became a global economic superpower, and everyone who was in America then benefited from the economy. They purchased homes, started businesses, and worked.
That's a whole don't close that. Mm-hmm. Don't close that. That's a whole episode right there. Start that thing again.
Yes, sir.
Because there's so much meat in that, which, like you said, which goes to what I was talking about earlier. Right. Read it again.
Yes, sir. This one is Atlanta's version of a Black Mirror episode.
Of a what?
A Black Mirror episode.
Okay, so that's a show that's up there. Yes. Black Mirror. Okay, go ahead.
It brings to life the idea that, sure, no white American alive owned slaves, but even modern white people benefit.
Hold it. So they're saying that the part about the slavery, they said no white person what?
Today.
Right. That's what I wanted to stress.
Right.
Go ahead.
No white America alive owns
So
slaves.
that's today. So
today.
In other words, black people are not in slavery today. And quote unquote white people are not slave masters today. That's what they're saying.
Yes, sir.
And with that being said, that's totally omitting the damage that was done during slavery on our side, and it's totally omitting the benefit that they received by having us in chains. Right. That's what you're reading.
Right, but they bring it back.
Yes, sir. Come on with it.
But even modern white people benefit from the fact that their ancestors owned slaves.
You hear that? Now, let's talk about how special. All of this deals with science, believe it or not, because it's a system. Mm-hmm. It's a unified system of oppression. That's what we're talking about. Their history, even though they're telling us to forget about our own history, their own history validates why we're in the position that we're in now. How you going to omit this? How you going to say, let's not deal with the past when you look up with your black self with nothing and these quote-unquote white people with everything? And you have no answers to how that happened? You don't understand. They want to cut all of that off? Where did we get these last names from? They don't even want us to know that.
Crafty counsel.
So if we have to forget about all we've been through as a people, then give back what you gained from us being in the situation. Let's do that, but they're not trying to do that.
No, they're not trying to do that. Hey, read that thing on, man.
Yes, sir. Slaveholding set up a multi-generational chain of events that has led to white people owning most of the wealth in America and black people owning almost
Can you get
none
him
of it.
while he's reading it, Gabriel, on the camera? While he's reading it, I want them to, read that again.
Yes, sir. Slaveholding set up a multi-generational
Slaveholders set up a multi-generational chain. Go ahead.
of events.
See, you got to stop on those words. Chain of events. A chain of events, meaning that from one event to the next event to the next event, you can't just let those words, all of those things have to do with the total destruction of our people. Give me that no, we coming back to this. Give me Daniel 9. Daniel 9.
The book of Daniel.
9,
chapter
verse 11.
Verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
The same people that God was talking about in Deuteronomy. Go ahead.
Even by departing.
Even by us departing from God's precepts, from his laws and his commandments. Come on.
That they might not obey thy voice.
And that's what we didn't do. We didn't obey the voice of God. Read.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
Therefore, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is poured upon us. That's what the curse is. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, verse 15 on down. These be the curses. Hold that. Because there might be some new people on there. We're coming back to this, Sean. I'm glad you brought this in here. We should have sent this on the screen. Can we get this on the screen? Seneca, they need to read this. They need to read this stuff here. See where stuff messed up on my end. You came with the fire. That's what I'm talking about. Read that thing. Read that thing in that Bible.
Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice.
That we might not obey the voice of God. Come on.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
Therefore, the curse. Let's find out what it's talking about. Like I said, it might be some new people watching. Let's find out what the curse is. Deuteronomy, we're coming back there. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, because again, it's going to the part about what we saw in the film where they mentioned the 1930s and the 40s and the 1970s. They didn't even get the full 70s because the 70s was when they came and destroyed us.
Right.
They destroyed us in the communities. They destroyed us in Harlem and Watts and all that. Killed off our leaders, pumped dope into our communities. They ain't talking about that. They don't want to mention us at all. So what kind of 70s are they talking about? Something about some Cambodia.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. What you got?
When a liar tells a story that he's
yeah.
involved in, he'll leave out all the parts that make him look bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what Esau does when he tells about history. When he goes into history, he'll leave out all the stuff that shine the light on who he is and his nature.
Yeah.
And what he is guilty of.
That's why they call it his story. You're listening to his story rather than history. They got it? They got it over there? Okay, all praises. Now we're going to get let's finish. So where you reading that, like him?
Deuteronomy chapter 28.
Verse 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass.
But it shall come to pass upon these Israelites. Go ahead.
If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord
thy
thy God.
the holy people of God, will not hearken and listen unto the voice of the Most High. Go ahead.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee.
That's the curse that we was reading about in Daniel. That all these curses shall come upon thee. So what are the curses? Let's read the curses. Give me verse 48.
Verse 48.
Let's see who this fits. And we're going to find out if they're hidden or not. Let's find out who this fits. Verse 48.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Because we did not want to deal with the Most High's commandments, the Lord said, therefore shall we serve our enemies. Our enemies. The same enemies we read about in Psalms. Go back to Psalms again. We're coming back here. Go back to Psalms again. Thine enemies. The second verse. Psalms 83, verse 2.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 2. For lo, thine enemies
These are the same enemies that we're reading about in Deuteronomy. Thine enemies, go ahead.
make a tumult,
They make a tumult. Go ahead.
and they that hate thee.
And they that hate the nation of Israel. We are God's people and they hate us. That's the reason why in the New Testament, give me that real quick. It says, they that hate us here, it says, have lifted up their heads against us. Now, Luke 172, 171.
The book of Luke.
We're
chapter
going to read
1,
about these same enemies again.
The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 71. That we should be saved from our enemies.
Those enemies that enemies there is the same enemies that's in the book of Psalms, and it's also the same enemies that's in the book of Deuteronomy. All 3 points is talking about the same people, the nations. All the nations are gathered together against thee, the scriptures say. Okay? So now let's go back to Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy,
And it says that
chapter
from the
28.
hand of all that hate us. That's what it says further there in Luke 1. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
Which the Lord shall send against us because we broke God's laws. Read it.
In hunger,
And hunger, meaning all our food, we got to get it. Just imagine having to be fed by the man that hates you. Go ahead.
and in thirst.
And in thirst. And you got to get water and drink from the people that hate you. And you wonder why the people in Detroit, that's where it was, right? Where they poisoned the water at?
Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Yeah, Flint, Michigan. They got a video, they got a movie out here, or documentary, I should say, Flint. You got to get your water from them. That's horrible. And to know that these people, and even in the documentary, they showed you that they literally turned the valve to turn off the fresh water and send that poison water through the pipes to the people that live there, the black people. That's in the documentary. With a flick of a switch, people was getting all kinds of rashes and all kind of stuff. Called Flint Town. That's the name of the documentary. Flint Town. Watch that. Read that statement again. Where you at?
And in thirst.
And in thirst. So we got to depend on our enemies for thirst. When they turn the water off, that's it. Just think about that. That's a hell of a curse. What other people fit that? Just think about that. Here you are, a married man. You got your wife, your kids. You got your family. And the man that's responsible for them to get drink is your enemy. That's a hell of a slap.
And
That's
Bishop,
a Will Smith slap.
And Bishop, that goes all the way back, not just even now, but that goes all the way back to 70 AD. You know, what they done, the same enemy, even back then, against our people.
Right, when they shut the water, they surrounded Jerusalem and starved us. Same kind of deal. Where you at?
And in thirst.
And in thirst, go ahead.
And in nakedness.
We're still in Deuteronomy. And in nakedness. The clothing comes from your enemy, the textiles and all that. Our enemies. Yeah, we can make our little things now, but at the end of the day, all of them, they set the price of the material and every damn thing else. So we ain't going to really get the kind of power to the Most High destroy our enemies like we was reading there in Luke. When the Lord delivers us from the hands of our enemies, that's when we're going to get some real power. But right now, it's time for us to rehearse the righteous acts. It's time for us to come together and obey these commandments so that the Lord can destroy our enemies and get us the hell out of here. Okay? Where am I at? Read on. Where you at?
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Come on.
And in want of all things.
So I'm reading this to show you that we are the ones that's the Most High is really talking about. You can't overlook our atrocities because we was in Daniel's. That's the reason why I'm here. We get ready to read about who suffered the real Holocaust, who suffered the real damage. Like I said earlier, 310 official years of chattel slavery. You know, that's generations. That's generations of mothers and fathers and children that was born into slavery and died in slavery. And when I say 300 and some odd years, you might be thinking like that's just 3 generations. Our people were dying at young ages. We never made it to 70 and 80. We didn't make it that long. They worked your bones so bad.
Right.
That's what I-
Stress injuries. Yeah, that's what
I
you're
was
coming
about
up
to say,
with.
Bishop. Remember, I don't know if you remember that picture of the little. I think he was about 7, 9 years old.
Yeah.
His bones was literally hanging off of his arms and all of that.
Yes, sir.
Because of the work that they were doing to our people.
Exactly.
Yeah, officer, when they dug up the foundations of the Twin Towers,
Yeah.
and they were finding slave remains, they actually found the toddlers, and like you said, they had worked themselves to death. The tendons were detached from the bone.
That's in in New York. They have the in the Lower Manhattan the burial grounds, where they just the same area that you're talking about. They were excavating down there, and then they came across these skeletons, and they found like there was an article that I had. I wish I could find it. I know I got it somewhere, and it says that they found the skulls. They found the remains of a 9-year-old kid. And they examined the tendons on his bones. They said it was detached because he worked so hard that the muscles detached from the bones. That's how hard it was. He was 9 years old, 9-year-old kid. So we did not get to live. So when you talk about 300 some odd years, you might be talking about 9 or 10 generations. Because we had such a short lifespan. That's my point in the beginning. We had such a short life, 9 years old, 14 years old, 20 years old, dead. Once they worked your body so bad and you was no more of a benefit to plow the field, to do the things that they would want you to do in slavery, you became a liability. Because now I got to take care of you. I don't want to take care of you. Here's some poison, nigga, and kill them off. But before we kill you off, where's Mammy? Where's them breeds? Where's those winches? Where's those studs like we were showing on them videos? To breed them, to keep them coming, So babies was being born as we were dying because we were dying so frequently. So within 100 years, you might have great grandfathers in terms of being killed off, and then the next result of breeding is he lived about 25 years old and he dead. You understand? We don't get to live old age. So all those years, 300 some odd years, that's millions of our people that's dying here. And these bastards don't even want to talk about it. That's what we're bringing out, brothers and sisters. See, that's why you got to look at things deep. So when we was reading in that thing about chain of events, that's what I was getting to. You really got to get into the words and put yourself in it so you can actually extract what it's really saying. Don't just gloss over it. There's a lot of information in there. We're going back to that. Read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
Stop. A yoke of iron on a human being. A human being. You got an iron collar around your neck. And your length of freedom is to the extent of that chain and that ball or whatever you was locked down to. That'll do some terrible damage to your thinking. And here you are as a man that's supposed to be the ruler of your house, is supposed to be the pinnacle of your family, supposed to be the standard and the pillar. You're supposed to be the beacon of strength and courage. Here you are with a chain on your neck, and your woman can't even respect. She can't even look up to that. So that just totally destroys every righteous fiber in our community, among our people. And that went on for many, many generations within a period of 300 years. We're all supposed to be crazy, bugged out. So when they in the 70s, we come out of that with no therapy. We come out of that with no help. Here, niggas, go be so-called be free. You can't get any jobs. We supposed to get a paycheck. Forget the job. We already work. That is, you can't even get any jobs. Right. They put you in the daggone ghetto on top of each other, rats and roaches. You're living like hell. Then here comes the drugs. Here comes the dope. That's what we went through in the 70s. And they want to omit all of that in this so-called Stanley Milgram's documentary. Listen, brothers and sisters, that Stanley Milgram thing had really nothing to do. I know that Stanley Milgram himself is a so-called Jew, and he wanted to reflect on his quote-unquote people. But the reality is, the real obedience is what was done to us with miseducation. They got us to do the real obedience experiment was done on the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm going to prove that as I go on in this lesson. What time is it? We're moving on. Because I want to make sure I get to these points. Read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So now you got to look at what does it mean to be destroyed. Until the yoke of iron, like we was talking about earlier, here's a man and the woman got yokes of iron on their necks. Your brain gonna die. The psychological killing field begins then. You have no aspirations to do nothing. You can't think about future. Your past is basically confiscated. And the only thing you can do now is just live hoping that I make it to the next day. Because that's all you got.
Bishop, all you know how to do is depend on your slave master.
That's
now.
it.
That's why I said you're going to serve him in the want of all things. That's all you know how to do is just depend on your slave master. You have no mental capacity to do nothing anymore. And that's why you mentioned something about the chain being around your neck and that it destroys you. And I wanted to give an example. Like if you take a dog, you put a chain on him, and you keep that chain on him, and he only has that space to move around.
Exactly.
You eventually take that chain off that dog.
Yes.
What does he do? He'll make a circle around that tree without the chain on him because he's so destroyed. And that's what Bishop's talking about.
Exactly. That's a very good point. And oftentimes I like to use examples like that because it shows you what happened to us. We've been encapsulated in our thoughts so bad that once they quote unquote freed us, you're already destroyed. You can't even think outside of the box that he left you in. You're scared to come out of the box. Even they showed us that in what's the name, Django. Remember at the end, the guy opened the cage and left the cage open. They just looking at each other. That's a point. That's a perfect example. That's a perfect because our mind has no, it's fearful. We're afraid because we've never been out there. We've never been beyond the radius of that chain. And we're afraid to go beyond that. Once we get to the water's edge, because the chain was our link. And once he took the chain off, he said, well, they don't know how to go any further than that. They'll come right back here where they're comfortable because I made them to be comfortable right here in this hog pen. That's the psychological killing field of what was done to us. And all of this is encompassed in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. This Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, that's why they got to get rid of it. That's the reason why all these Christianity apologists and all that garbage, they hate this here because there's so much information in there. When they're working so hard to talking about a critical race theory and all that BS, that's what they call it. But in the reality, it's the Bible that they're trying to get rid of. They already lied in history. They're trying to get rid of the Bible. The Bible talks about the slave trade. The Bible talks about these consequences and these terrible atrocities that happen to us. Read that thing again. Let's get more out of that Bible.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness.
Come on.
And in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
That part right there needs to be highlighted. The Most High said, and these same enemies shall put a yoke of iron on your neck. That is everything right there. The yoke of iron on our neck means it all. The yoke of iron on our neck, go ahead.
Until he have destroyed thee.
Until you are destroyed. Until we are no more of a people. Until we are destroyed. Okay? Now, give me verse 66.
Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt.
This is what I was talking about earlier. With the way we live, our past is taken away from us. Our future, we have no future. So only thing we can do is live day to day, hoping that we can make it to the next day and make it through the night. That's the only thing that's left with us. Read that verse.
And thy life shall hang in doubt.
And your life shall hang in doubt because our lives depend on the enemy. Think about that as an atrocity. Think about that as a psychological killing field. And that happened in slavery, and it's still happening all the way up to today. Read that again.
And thy life shall hang in doubt.
And our life shall hang in doubt. Come on.
Before thee.
Before thee. We're looking at our own life. And we're not even sure if we're going to make it to the next day. Go ahead, read it. It's going to tell you that. This is the book of your fathers, brothers and sisters. You need to understand that. This is your Bible. Read.
And thou shalt fear day and night.
And thou shalt fear day and night. We are afraid in the daytime because we might get killed. We are afraid at night because we might get killed or raped. Go ahead.
And shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Because we don't control our lives. Our enemies dominated our life. He determined how long you lived, determined what you ate, determined what you drank, determined where you slept. What other people went through that? Read.
Verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
Because this day I might die this day. In the morning when we raise up to go back into the cotton fields, there's a thought that we might die that day. Every day we got the threat of death on our heads. When in the morning, when you wake up, read that again.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
Would God, will he allow me to make it through the evening? Because maybe my son might say something or take master's chicken. And then the slave master will lynch my son. And the blood that will come from my son's neck will be in the white man's clothes. And my wife has to wash out his clothes, have to wash my son's blood out of the white man's clothes. Think about that as trauma. Think about that as a messed up, and we went through 300 some odd years of this. And you want to talk about some bastards. That's the reason why that was omitted. Read.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
And at the evening will we make it to the morning, because I might have a wife in slavery. She might be in my bed. Here we are laying down together in slavery with a tattered rag on or something. This is really atrocious to even have to think about stuff like this here. We're laying next to each other on some kind of cot. And here comes Mr. Reynolds. He brings a guest from out of town and say, you want some black meat? I got plenty of black meat in my slave quarters. Go in there and pick which one you want. And he'd go in there and he'd see me laying next to my wife. And he said, take a walk. I'm going to borrow her. Think about that. And she looks at you as the man. So you got to get into the psychology of this thing. She looks at you like you're the man, but she knows you're powerless. And you have to walk out and allow this vermin to defile you. And then when it's all over, then the white man comes out when he's zipping his clothes up. Hey, nigga, you can go back in there. And then you have to walk in there with your head down low. And you have to look at her as she's sitting on that piece of cot, whatever they're sleeping on. And she has to look at you and still try to make you feel like you're a man, knowing that you couldn't really do anything. And where's your dignity, knowing that you couldn't protect her? You might try to strike at the white man. You might try to protect her. And there goes your life. Boom. He kills you. That's at the nighttime. Read that again.
Would God, from the top. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even.
So God, would you help me make it to the evening, because I might die during the day. Go ahead.
And at even thou shalt say.
And at the night, and at the evening, what?
And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
Lord, can you spare us to the next day? Don't have this man to come in and rape my daughter. Don't come in and have this man rape my wife, because I might not live. Just help me get through this, so hopefully there's a day when we can get out of slavery. That's how we thought. Swing low, sweet chariot. That's why we were singing it, because we wanted to get the hell out of captivity. And we went generation after generation after generation, all the way up to 300 years. No relief in sight. That's a hell of a deal to live with. And no therapy coming out of that. Read.
For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, And for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
And for the sight of your eyes, which you shall see. So when we saw the white man come in to take our wife out of our bed, and you sitting there watching this, your heart is racing. And the minute you stand up, they got all kinds of weapons on you. So you could try to save her, but you will be dead and we'll take her anyway. So why don't you at least spare your life, and we ain't going to do nothing but pleasure her a little bit, and we'll give her back to you. And at least you can have her for another couple of days, and we might allow you to breed another slave. That's the kind of dignity that we lost. No other people went through no SH like this, period.
Right.
Don't even try it, you bastards. Don't even try it. Nobody went through no crap like this. Go ahead, man.
So Bishop, so we supposed to forget about all this. That's how that's what they saying. We supposed to forget all this stuff that you just mentioned, Bishop.
Yeah.
Now we supposed to just
Every
forget
time
about
you
this.
mention it, it's racist. You bringing up old stuff, it's racist.
Another thing that and that you was bringing to reality about it, Bishop, I'm sitting here thinking the word destroy, until he had destroyed. And I was looking up the word destroy, to wreak havoc on, bring to an end, okay? And it just go devastate, damage, lay waste, spoil, okay? And it just go on ruin. But I even think about the point too, that when we saw that they wasn't just only doing it to our wives, they would take the man himself and take him out there and make him a spectacle in front of everybody, to his son and all the women. Spread him out and tie him to a pole, all four of his limbs, and tie him up to a pole, and master have his way with him in front of everybody. What kind of mess is that?
Right. And they try to say that they didn't buck break our men too. They did that.
Right.
Bishop,
yeah.
One of the things that you just explained about the verse 30 of Deuteronomy 28, the wife being taken, that is illustrated beautifully in a movie, Lee Daniels, The Butler, at the very beginning. It shows you exactly what you just described, if anybody need a visual.
It's amazing that you said it, because there was a video, I'm trying to remember it, and I can't find it. I know I had several people looking for it, and I saw it when I was way back in the old school. And I thought the name of it was Slavers. I think your wife she had found it or something, and I don't know if that was the right one, but I was trying to get to the part, and I didn't really see it there. But it dealt with a scene where you had two friends, two male slaves on the plantation. Now, I didn't forget. I got to read my part before I even go to the commercial. I got to bring this out. And the two of them were friends, and one of them was married. But the one that wasn't married, he was the big buck. He was the stronger one. So they came to him. And they said, they put him in the room with his friend's wife and told his friend to take a walk. Told him to get up out the bed and leave the wife there, and made his best friend lay down with this man's wife. And the man turned to the so-called white man and he said, "But that's my friend. I don't want to do that. That's his wife." And then the white man put a blade up and he said, "If you don't, I'll castrate you." That's what he told him. "I'll castrate you." And they made him, they said, "Get in." He still didn't want to. They put him in the bed. They said, "Get to going." Then they whipped him. "Get to going, get to going, get it going." So then after the licks get on, then he start touching, you understand? And then all of a sudden they got into it. After they got into it, they went and got his friend back and brought him and made him watch. Made him watch his friend on his wife. And then the two later on got back into the field and they fought each other and one of them stabbed each other. But that's the kind of tricks and entertainment that they did to us on a daily basis. That's the kind of stuff we went through, and nobody wants to talk about. You talk about some you racist curriculum. You full of junk.
But Bishop,
yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that point up too.
We deal with them commercials later. They'll come up. We got to get get these parts in.
Yeah,
come on.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the same. When we say until he have destroyed thee, we see that same mentality of our men today out there in the streets.
Yeah.
You step on one of them shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the club or look at it. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing today, to the point where we're so oppressed and angry and destroyed and don't realize who we are to one another,
right,
to the point where we'll just disrespect each other or destroy each other now. And the enemy just sit back and look and watch.
Exactly, and that's what they're doing
He
to us
done
now.
his job.
They watch us sell dope to each other, and they say, look at them. Well, you made a monster out of us. In this psychological killing field, you turned the Israelites into monsters. Read that in Deuteronomy again. That's 67th verse.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
Lord, help me make it to the evening, please, because I might die.
And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
And let me make it, hopefully I can make it to the next morning, because with this heinous maniac out here, I don't know what he might do. He might kill me in my damn sleep, might rape me in my damn sleep, rape my wife, my children, and all that, and I'm going to be forced to fight, and I'm going to end up dying. I hope this vermin leave me alone for at least one night to make it to the next day. Hopefully long enough for God to deliver us out of this captivity. That's how we were thinking. Read.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear.
For the fear, we lived in constant fear. We lived in constant fear, to show you how constant the fear is and how it bathed our brain from chattel slavery even into the Jim Crow era, out of quote-unquote slavery. Even when we were walking in the streets, I was watching this movie, this brother, Most Def, he played in it. I can't remember. He was like a heart surgeon or something in the movie. I forget the name of it. But there was a section in there where he was walking down the street. And as he was walking, white folks was coming up the street. And it was customary for black folks that whenever white people are coming towards you, you have to step off the street and walk in the gutter to let them go by. And they were showing that like that was a normal occurrence in the movie. I remember seeing that. And I know that's what really happened. I'm just saying that's a visual example of the fear that we live. What would make a grown man, what? That's it. That's the name of the movie. Something the Lord Made. Thank you. That's the movie there. Something the Lord Made. So he was walking. And as he was walking with somebody, and white folks was coming, and without even hesitation, they automatically, like it was automatic, jump off the sidewalk and walk in the gutter to let the white people, their precious white people, walk past. And that was in our brain. Automatic. Read that again.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even.
Mm-hmm.
And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning.
I want the fear part.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear.
That's how we lived. That same evil and terror, because we were terrorized in slavery, and that terrorized that milk that we nursed in slavery bathed our brains. We nursed punk milk basically, all the way up to now. And when we see these, we get terror. That is the mark of a terrorized people. So-called Jews don't feel this. They don't get all of the stuff that we're talking about, and we ain't even read it in the Bible. We just reading little bits of it. We can stay in this Bible all day and read about how terrible we were treated. But they want to say, and other events. They don't even want to mention us and other events. You mentioned the 30s and the 40s with Hitler and all that, but now you don't want to talk about what happened with us. 300 years, you just want to completely wipe that off the history, off the slate of history. You want to remember a few years, but you want to wipe off 300 years. You just want to just erase it. Hit the delete button. That's what you're doing in your killing fields called schools. Read.
For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
And the Lord shall bring the Israelites into slavery again.
with ships.
With ships. That's how we were going to get to bondage. We were going to get into this bondage with ships. Who's that talking about? The Negroes. Who's that talking about? The Hispanics. Who's that talking about? The Israelites. Because we were the ones that was put on the cargo slave ships and sold. And yes, Northern Kingdom was sold on slave ships as well. Been sent back to Spain from the Americas after this virulent beast came over here and robbed them of their land. Y'all need to check out that documentary. I got it. I'm gonna play it. Called The Canary Effect. Watch the whole damn thing. And you see how these people treated Gad and treated Reuben and treated the Israelites. Read. Come on,
ships,
68.
by the way whereof I spake unto thee.
And the Lord shall bring us into bondage again with ships, cargo slave ships. Cargo ships are not made for human beings. Cargo ships is not, when you think about a slave trade, when you think about a slave ship, there is, quote unquote, no such thing as an actual slave ship, because a ship was never made to carry people. It ain't no love boat. You got to really think about these words. The ship was a cargo ship that carried people. And it was dubbed a slave ship. But in reality, boxes and freight supposed to be on there. They said, well, you're the freight, damn it.
Right.
You're the commodity. You're the property. And they put us on there. Chained up, laying on each other, laying on our backs for 90 some odd days. Getting sick. Throwing up. Some of our women were pregnant, you devils. Some of our men were sick. Some of our women were sick. When you got them chained up on their back and you throw some salt water on them every once in a while to keep the fleas and all that, that's how you did us. Then you want to talk about some bastards. Talk about some 30s and 40s. No, the real Holocaust was us. The 12 tribes of Israel. Read. With ships, go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
The exact way that Moses said that this was going to happen is the way it happened. The yokes of iron that we talked about earlier, it happened just like that. By the way whereof I spake unto thee. He said this to us in the borders of our homeland, and the way it was going to happen happened exactly the way it's written. That's how we know that these are the signs that the scriptures say, and these curses shall be upon you for a sign that you're the Israelites. This sign don't reflect them devils over there in Israel,
right?
So-called Israelis. Those signs reflect us. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
We shall not see our homeland no more again, because they made a new person out of us. What that thing, in that documentary that I was talking about, he said, kill the Indian and save the man. That's what they did to us. The psychological killing fields. Kill the real spirit in the Israelites and give me the shell of a man and make him my robot to work. Kill his soul, but save his body. And that's the reason why the Bible refers to us as dead people. Because your brain is dead. Because you've been made dead in this cesspool. Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there, when you get to this new bondage, you shall be sold unto your enemies. Here go the damn white man talking about something you shall offer to sell yourselves. That's showing you that they know that we're the Israelites, because they went through straight up lie. Then put it in a quote-unquote Bible and say, no, that's not talking about you. We're going to obliterate your mind further so that you don't know that you're the Israelites, and we're also going to take away history in the school. That's an act of war on us. That's what it is. To take away our history, to take away our past that tells us who we are so that we can know where the hell we're going. To take that away from us, that's an act of war. That's what they've done. Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
And you shall be sold. Ain't somebody some offering and no man will buy you. If you were sold, that means you were purchased. If you were sold, that means a price has been paid. That means you were bought. And if you were bought, that means you were sold to that buyer. Read that again. And there.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Who does that fit? The 12 tribes of Israel. You shall be sold unto your enemies. That don't fit these so-called Jews. Go ahead.
For bondmen.
For bondmen, men in bondage.
And bondwomen.
And women in bondage. So they bound both of us. Go ahead.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall redeem you. And no man shall save you. Because it can't say that no man shall buy you if you was already sold. So that obviously that word buy, B-U-Y, is not talking about the kind of buying like purchasing. If you was already sold, you was already bought. So that Quaker English word buy means to redeem. No one shall redeem you from being sold. That's how that goes. No one shall redeem you from being sold by to your enemies. That's how that goes. That's the reason why Christ said, I am going to redeem you from the hand of your enemies and from all that hate you. That's how that goes. Now go back to Daniel's. Go back to Daniel's. We're about to get into the break. Go back to Daniel's.
Daniel, chapter 9, verse 11.
Yes, sir.
Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
All Israel have transgressed the laws of God. The Israelites that we was reading about in Deuteronomy. Come on.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice.
That we may not obey the voice of God. We didn't know how terrible these curses were going to be. But when we were disobeying him. Read.
Therefore the curse is poured upon us.
Therefore the curse. That's what we was reading earlier. All of what we just went through. All of that, what I just talked about, is the curse that Daniel is talking about. Read that statement again. Therefore what?
Therefore the curse.
Therefore the curse. Not just any curse, the curse. Go back to Deuteronomy again. Hold that. We're coming back to that. Go back. Deuteronomy 28, 46, 45 and 46.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45.
The curse.
Moreover, all these curses.
Moreover, all these curses. Go ahead.
Shall come upon thee.
Shall come upon you 12 tribes of Israel. Come on.
And shall pursue thee.
And these curses shall pursue you. All the way up to now. Go ahead.
And overtake thee.
And they shall overtake us until we be destroyed. Like you was talking about earlier. Go ahead.
Till thou be destroyed.
Bam. Until we be destroyed. Wow. Read.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the
Why
Lord.
did this happen to us? Because we did not listen to our Father. We did not listen to the words and hearken to the words, which is the book of our fathers, the Bible. We did not hearken unto that. Come on.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments.
To keep his commandments, that's what we were supposed to do. Come on.
And his statutes.
And his statutes. Go ahead.
Which he commanded thee.
Which he commanded us. Read.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
And these curses shall be upon us for a sign. So that's how we know who the Israelites are. So it ain't those rats over there in Jerusalem calling themselves Jews. These curses fit you black people, fit you Hispanic people, fit you Native American Indians, fit all of us, the 12 tribes of Israel. That's who these curses fit. How the hell you going to let a snake tell you about your history when he's a damn snake himself? So was that it on it?
And for a wonder.
And for a wonder. Go back to Daniel's.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 11.
I know you had something, right? No, I'm going to let you get it in. You got it? Come on, bring it.
Yes, sir. And this is why they have to take all these things out of our school systems, because to keep it there means they have to omit the atrocities that they've done. Get Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 5. They have to omit the atrocities that they have done to our people, and they have to omit why they're benefiting. Going back to the article, Bishop, why they're benefiting so much. Right. So go ahead and read that.
Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 5.
Uh-huh.
By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic.
That word right there. By thy what?
By thy traffic.
Bishop was mentioning the curses earlier. It is not a slave ship. It's a cargo ship where they trafficked human slaves, where they trafficked Israelites, where they trafficked you black people, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Read it again.
By thy great wisdom
Uh-huh.
and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches.
How they benefit, how they living wealthy here in America, how they from generation to generation they can continue to benefit off the slave, off the works and the blood, the sweat and the tears and the murder, the rape of your people. Read it again.
By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches.
And that's what the show was alluding to. It's talking about how white people or Edomites continue to benefit off of the work, the slave, and the brutality of what happened to your people in 1492, what happened to your people in 1619. And they want to eradicate that. They want to erase that. Why? Because then you'll start to wake up and realize who you are when you start to read this Bible, because the curses is alluding to you. That's all I got, Bishop.
Finish that up in that Daniel.
Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
Therefore, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is poured upon the Israelites, the real Jews. Go ahead.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
And the oath that the Most High, in the law of Moses, letting you know that what we just read is what what Daniel is making reference to. He says, and the oath that was written in the law of Moses, we just read it. The oath was that if we did not keep the commandments of God, he would send us in captivity on ships. That's what he said. That's an oath that could not be broken. That's what happened to us. And all those curses was put upon us to identify, to let everybody know that these are the Israelites. Read.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
Listen now.
The servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
Because we have sinned against the Lord. We're going to find out who these people are that sinned against the Lord. Listen.
And he hath confirmed his words.
And he has confirmed, God has confirmed his words. How is the words of God confirmed? Through history. Through CRT, so you can understand. Through 1619 Project. I'm just using these as loose terms because the real confirmation is the Bible. But I'm mentioning this is because the world knows what happened to you. And these bastards want to get rid of it. Because they think they're going to escape the judgment from God. Because of what you did to these people, your ass going to pay for it. All you nations that put your hands on this nation, you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that. Don't give a damn. You're going to pay for that. Read that again.
And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil.
Wait a minute. How did God confirm his words? You're looking at the confirmation. You're looking at the confirmation when you look at us.
Right.
You're looking at the works of God in anger. When you look at us, nobody's built like we are. Our bodies, our spirit is superior to every damn thing.
What?
That's right.
Ain't nobody built better than us. Nobody built better than our women. Nobody built better than our men. Don't even try it. You know what it is.
That's right.
You know what it is. But God has said, listen, I'm going to show you my anger. I'm going to confirm my anger by taking my greatest creation and destroying it. And that's what he did. Read that again.
And he hath confirmed his words.
God has confirmed his words by taking the greatest people, his people. We're the Israelites. Sparks of genius comes from us even in our worst condition. Even in our worst condition, sparks of intelligence, sparks of genius and greatness comes from us. Still coming up with all kinds of inventions. In our total decadence and destruction, we still spark with all kinds of genius. Read that again. Read that statement again. I'm getting all the damn butt out the damn scriptures.
Right.
That's right.
Read.
And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us.
And God has confirmed his word that he spake against us by doing what he did to this great nation. By destroying what he did, by what he did to us. Look at us now. Look how messed up we are. And we were the greatest damn thing that ever put our foot on this damn planet. And look at us now. That's the work of God because he got angry. Read it again.
And he hath confirmed his words.
And God has confirmed his words. Go ahead.
Which he spake against us.
Which he spake against us because we were mad. Give me Amos. We're coming back to this. Give me Amos 3. Amos 3 and 1. 1 and 2.
The book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you.
Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against Israel. Against us. Go ahead.
You, O children of Israel.
Has spoken against us, O children of Israel. He's speaking against us now. Go ahead.
Against the whole family.
Against the whole family, the 12 tribes, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, Jamaicans, so-called blacks, Haitians. That's what he's talking about. Read.
Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying.
Who did he bring up from the land of Egypt? The 12 tribes of Israel. What did God say to these 12 tribes of Israel?
You only.
You only. Go ahead.
Have I known of all the families of the earth.
You only have, I only know you. You only meaning, turn it around. Only you. I only know you. I don't know nobody else. I only know you. Go ahead.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish
because
you.
I only know you. Because I only know you, this is what I'm going to do to you.
Therefore, I will punish you.
Therefore, I will punish you.
For all your iniquities.
For all your iniquities that you did against me, I'm going to show my anger by destroying you. And that's what he did. He took the greatest people, his creation, and turned us into drug dealers, drug users, pimps, hoes, prostitutes, nothings, bums. That's what he did. He destroyed his heritage. That's how angry God got. Read. Come on.
Verse 3.
No. Get back in the other one. I'm sorry.
Daniel chapter 9.
Yes.
Verse 12. And he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil.
By bringing upon us a great evil, come on.
For under the whole heaven.
For underneath the whole heaven. What's underneath the whole heaven? The planet Earth is under the whole heavens. Under the whole heavens, what?
Hath not been done.
Have no atrocities been done.
As hath been done upon Jerusalem.
That has been done upon the real Jews. Let's just look at 310 years. What other people you know that been in captivity that long?
None.
Nobody. That alone kills it. And that's in the white man's so-called books. The so-called white man's books. That's in his books. 300 years. You talking about some bastard rats in Jerusalem. Play that clip again. Yeah. Wait a minute. Play my thing. I'm going to give it to you. Put my Stanley Milgram thing back up there again. Let me get that part again. How they just omitted us. All of what I just read, all that was supposed to be included. Turn it up. Get the sound on it now so they can hear this abomination. Pay attention.
How can a regular person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another? And could you be convinced to potentially injure or kill someone else? I'm not talking about self-defense or
so
during
they say,
war
how
on the
could somebody be so heinous to do these things to kill someone else? And they left us out. The question needs to be, how could you enslave for people for 310 years, rape their women, rape their men, castrate them, lynch them, burn them, discriminate against them, murder them? How could you do that? But they didn't talk nothing about that at all. They didn't even mention that. Left all that out. Play it.
battlefield, but someone you have never met before and have had no interaction with previously. How can perfectly normal people commit genocide?
How can perfectly normal people commit such a heinous crime? That's what they're trying to say. The point is that these are not ordinary nice people, and the people that they so-called committed the crimes, they're not even talking about it in this video. The real criminal act was done upon us. Go ahead. Play on.
Like what we saw in the 1930s and 1940s in Europe, or even in Cambodia in the 1970s, amongst other events.
Stop. And look how they got their people. Now, I want y'all to see something. I'm going to do something. Then we're going to go to the break. Keep that image up there. Keep that image up there. These are supposed to be the so-called Jews. These son of a bees, these guys are really a mess. Give me the slave ships, God. Give me the slave. Keep this mess up there. Give me the slave ships, and they gonna omit what really happened for this bull. Are you crazy?
Deuteronomy.
Give me not the scriptures. Give me the picture. Doggone it. Give me the picture of us on the slave ship. Let me see it somewhere.
Bring it out.
Let me see it somewhere. Shoot. This is how they need to be teaching in church. Where's T.D. Jakes at? He need to be talking like this. Give me one of the pictures there. Give me that cross section. Yeah, listen to me. Give me where it shows the most of us. Right there. No, you on it. Hit that. Okay. Keep that to the side. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir. Hey, Bishop.
Hold it. I got to get these parts out.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
lose your
Yes,
point.
sir. Yes, sir.
Don't lose it. Show that picture again. The thing on the screen that we were looking at with the film. Go back to that. Freeze that. Keep that. Now look at this here. Now put my picture to the side for a second. I want the words of the video to play while y'all looking at this. Back it up. Let's get that last statement where it mentioned the 40s, the 30s and the 40s. I want that to play. Right there. Now let's take it slow. We don't need no sound. Let's just read. Y'all all right? It says, like what we saw in the 1930s and the 40s in Europe or in Cambodia in the 1970s, among other events. So they don't want to talk about what the other events is because the other events make this look like playing in the sandbox. That's what our real event make all of what they're talking about look like nothing. Look like Ring Around the Rosies. Now, play the clip. Play this. Let me see the section that they're talking about. I want the words up there. Hit it. Hit the play button. Keep your finger by the pause. Because I want those. Stop right there. This is what they're referring to. They say, like in what we saw in the 1930s and in the 1940s in Europe. So they got a room with people laid out on the floor. Well, they ain't on the floor for 90 days. So what if you killed them? That ain't no damn damage of what I'm about to show you now. This ain't what the Bible's talking about. This is not what the Bible's talking about. Now, let's see the real. You want to show people lined up? You want to show people laid out to the side? Show them this.
Bring it out.
That's the real deal. And that went on for hundreds of years.
Right.
The hell you mean to show me some picture of some bastards in a damn room?
Talking about the 30s and 40s.
Talking about some 30s and 40s. A damn decade. If that. Here you talking about 300 years of this. And this is totally omitted. What they call this? Among other events. That's what they call this. They say, oh, that's just other events. That's what Psalms is talking about. Go back to Psalms. Go back to Psalms, what we was reading. And consulted against thy hidden ones. I went through all of that to show you that we are, in fact, hidden. That was the point of all of what I just went through to prove when that Bible said that, because all of the words of God is pure. He didn't put the word hidden in there because he didn't know what else to put in there. He put hidden in there because we are really hidden. Look at this mess. Show them pictures while we get in that scripture, man.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3.
Show that one there. No, the one on the green side. With the green. Open that up. Let the people see that. Look at how they had us sitting. Look at this. Put it up there. Come on.
Psalms chapter 83,
Look at
verse
this.
3.
I want them to see that. Zoom in on that thing. Look at that. They said 17, they got the dates. 1770 to 1830. So you're talking about 100 and what? Nearly 100 years of this.
Bishop, that picture on the bottom is just a section.
That's just a section of what we was dealing with. a section of what we're dealing with. You're talking about 60 to 70 years of that compared to what we were just looking at. 6 to 7 decades of this. And they just, like you said, notice that this right here is a blown up section of the ship where they got the arrow showing. So you can look, zoom in, you see how they got the arrow? That is a blown up section of, go up to the point of, yes. So what you got circling, slow down with the circle. That's one section. Move the cursor over to beside this box. That's another section. Moving on the other side of the box. That's another section. Moving on over. That's another section. All of us are sitting like that. Sitting like that in the holds of the ship. Sitting like that for 90 days. Sick. Getting sick. Colio. There was a flesh-eating disease that wiped many of us out. Just before we were put on the ships, me and my wife used to run around. We loved seeing each other, watching the kids and all that. We're in our habitat. Yes, we had our own thing because, you know, we had the Africans that was on the other side that hated us. But we had our own little kingdom on the West Coast. So we was enjoying that freedom. The wife that I once looked at in beauty, watching my kids. Now all of a sudden we're chained up like this. And they separated her and took her up top and raped her while I'm downstairs in a hole chained up. Come on. Where am I at?
Psalms chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
That's the word, and consulted. They made plans, conspiracies against. Consulted meaning that there was a conspiracy. There was deep thought. There was a concerted effort in how to destroy us, to keep us hidden. To keep us hidden. Somebody was going to say something, right? Did we finish reading that in Daniel's where we was at?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I know we still had to get your article. I ain't leaving that out. I tell you, I'm not going to leave that out. You had something, Captain? Yeah, did you? I told you not to lose it. You got it?
I got most of it.
Oh, Lord.
In modern day, it wasn't a boat ride on a ferry that you have seats and they didn't come by with bowls. Okay, now it's lunchtime. Everybody get up, stretch. Right. It wasn't none of that. Today, a shipping, you know what a shipping crate looks like because that's what they use today for, like Officer Nashawn brought out, the traffic, that international merchant, what's the word? Mercantilism. Okay. When it's major amounts of things being shipped. So it's not transportation for people, no, but like a cargo ship today with cargo, what they call them? Cargo crates.
Right. Those big trailers that they put and stack up there. That's basically what we were. You know? Commerce. We were the commerce and slaves, like the book of Revelation say. Okay. Let's take the break, right, brothers and sisters, real quick. No, we just keep on rolling. We might as well keep on rolling. Yeah, we're going to keep on rolling. I hope y'all all right with it. Hey, give me your thing. God need to flow right into that. I can't let that go. Because the heat, if we read it after the break, the heat, it's going to get cold. I want to get it while the steam is still on it.
Go back to the article, y'all.
Let's get that. Let's get it in. Let's read that thing, man. This is scientific oppression.
Yes, sir.
So that, like I said earlier, Stanley Milgram's wasn't about measuring the obedience in so-called white people afflicting harm on so-called white people. That was really about us. They wanted to learn how to modify. They wanted to learn how to examine the behavior of people, meaning us, and making us to be obedient to them. They just use their own their so-called little thing that they talked about. But in reality, we're the ones that will listen to the man in the lab coat. That's what I'm really getting to. Because the point in the experiment was to say that if you had, but I'm about to go on a tangent again. Let me just stay off of it. Let me just say it, and then we're going to get on with this. But the point of the experiment was supposed to be about a subject, the man that's sitting in a chair. He's got the shock generator, And then you have the man that's in the booth that has to answer a series of questions. And if he gets it wrong, you, as the man with the switches, you administer a certain amount of electric shock. And as you give this shock, the man in the booth, he hollers because the thing is really hot on him. So you're hitting it, bam, and he, ow! Then you be like, you start to worry. So as you would start to worry, the man behind you with the lab coat on, because you're worried about the man inside. This is what they were trying to say about the experiment. You're shocking him, and you noticing that the man is hollering. So he said, don't worry about that. The experiment requires you to keep going. So your obedience to the man in authority, you end up shocking the man, according to the generator, to death. So the person sitting in the chair, you were the real subject, not the man inside. But you thought it was about him getting the answers wrong. He wasn't being shocked at all. The reality is that it was saying, how far would you go to obey somebody who you saw as an authoritative figure? That was the point of the so-called experiment. The point that I'm bringing out is that that's how we are when it comes to these people. We will listen to them against our own will. That's the reason for that real experiment. They ain't had nothing to do, because they know they're not the real Jews. But the real thing was that if they'll come up to us with a suit and tie on, and they'll say anything, and we will take it as gold. Case in point, I'm gonna bring it to my point. Give me Daniel 7 and 9. I'm gonna show you how far this obedience goes. Daniel 7 and 9. Read that.
Daniel.
I'm gonna show you how far the experiment really went. Forget about what you saw on TV. Read it.
Daniel chapter 7,
Watch
verse
this.
9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
The Ancient of Days is God. The Ancient of Days is God. God is ancient, more ancient than days. Who was here before days? God. Read it again.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
Now, I'm proving my point about our people are made to obey the so-called authority figure, the so-called white man. Read that again.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
So God sat down, which means he had a body. In order for him to sit, he had legs. He had a back. He had to sit down. So he has a body. Go ahead.
Whose garment was white as snow.
So Daniel saw that God had on a garment, and his garment was white as snow. You can't put a garment on if you don't have a body. Go ahead.
And the hair of his head.
And the hair that was on God's head. If you have hair, you have to have a head. And the hair that's on God's head,
like the pure wool.
that is not white folks. Like the pure wool is nigger hair, so you can understand.
Right.
Nappy Negro hair, so you can understand. And the hair that was on God's head was woolly, like the Negro, woolly. Here's my point. That's in the Bible, the greatest book on the planet. It's in all the Bibles. Negroes will read this. Here comes the white man with his suit on and say, you didn't see what you saw. And we would ignore that. The white man says that Jesus is white. That's nowhere in the Bible, and you niggas are still talking about Jesus is a white man. I have to say that. I'm sorry that I had to speak that way because, it is upsetting. It's upsetting for us to be so against what the Bible is saying simply because this man came up. I'm angry. I shouldn't have said it that way, but I'm angry because I'm showing you that this book is really talking about us.
Bishop,
it's really talking about us.
just right quick. I spoke to an officer last night from another city, and he told me, of course, his dad was a Baptist preacher. He told me that his dad and them, they used to read Revelations 1 and 14. They used to read about the woolly hair. They used to read about the black feet, the feet as the color brown. But when his dad went to theological school,
that's what I'm talking about. When I say the niggas, I'm talking about that.
It
I ain't
came
talking about my
back-
black people now.
yeah.
I'm talking about the Negro. Don't lose your point.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Negro preacher that got all the black people sitting in his church.
Right.
And here come the white man come behind the Negro, the nigger. I'm going to call him a nigger. Get behind him and say, that verse don't mean what your black eyes is reading.
That's exactly what happened.
That ain't what you see. So don't tell them, don't have them thinking that God looks like them. Don't have them thinking that Jesus looks like them. You tell them that color don't matter.
That's
How
what
the hell
happened.
you going to say color? What you was saying?
That's what happened.
That's what happened. That's
Yes.
what I'm talking about. That's the nigga that I'm talking about. Because he knows that the T.D. Jakes and all the rest of them, they know what this Bible's talking about. And they're going to sit up there and play footsie with the damn white man instead of teaching his Bible.
Bishop.
Go ahead, man.
I remember what it is now. You're going to like this. Because what Captain Sariah said, it brought it back to remind me. Go back to the video and scroll back to the beginning of it. The video with the experimentation, the scientific, right? Now, you said the churches, man, you're going to go to it. Now, scroll it back. Back. There. Look who's in the background next to the experimentors. A clergyman. The church. So these people and their religion that they made up, like you said, we see what's in the Bible, but the people in the room with the experimentors, and this is one room with one guy, but it represents the society at large. It represents the big picture. What does that tell you about the religions that this man set up in all his scientific tampering with our psychology and spirit?
I ain't even bring up all the science yet. I still got more for next week. I got to get one more. I got to deal with B.F. Skinner. I got to deal with his behind. I got to deal with the Stanford prison. All of that has to do with everything that's done on this planet was about how to manipulate us, how to modify our behavior. Don't you ever be fooled into thinking that these experiments is about anything else except the destruction of Israel. All of it. Prison experiment, the, what was the other one? That was Stanford. What was the other one that I just mentioned? Stanley Milgram's. All of that. B.F. Skinner, all of that was about manipulating the black man. That's the scientific oppression. Go ahead. You was going to say, Captain. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, he saw that happen to his own father and realized he had to get out of there.
Damn.
He had to get out of there because Jesus was no longer a black man all of a sudden now. And he heard it from years growing up. He had to get out of there. So,
wow.
Again, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Read that. Let's get back to that article. That was it on that, right, Lai Kim? You brought the point out? Now let's get that article. I tell you, I couldn't leave that out. Let's get it in. Let's get that thing in there.
Let's go back to the article. Again, y'all, this article is about the show called Atlanta. All right? It's like the 4th episode, and it's called The Big Payback. I'm going to skip down to the part where it says, this one is Atlanta's version. Y'all can see that up there?
Mm-hmm.
Put it up there. All right. So it says, this one is Atlanta's version of a Black Mirror episode. It brings to life the idea that, sure, no white American alive owned slaves, but even modern white people benefit from the fact that their ancestors owned slaves. Slaveholding set up a multi-generational chain of events.
Multi-generational chain of events. You know what that means? A multi-generational chain of events, meaning since the very first of virulent treatment that we got when we got off the slave ships, what is a multi-generational chain of events? The very same tactics of evil when we got off those ships is going all the way to now. Right. They made sure that it continued in perpetuity, perpetual hatred. Go ahead.
That has led to white people owning most of the wealth in America and black people owning almost none of it.
Just think about that as an atrocity. Here you've worked for 310 years of official slave labor. And white folks take all of the benefits, prospered off the labor. We were paid the land, everything, and they were able to build all of this. And meanwhile, we are scratching around in the streets just trying to get a crumb. And that's generational. Go ahead.
The slave trade is the reason why America became a global economic superpower.
Superpower, not just a global power, superpower because of the black people. So here's the point. Don't stop. If this is the case, you mean to tell me that the experiments that we're talking about is not connected to this? Stanley Milgram, the prison with that Lombardi, over the prison Stanford thing. That was his name, I think his name. The psychologist that was over that. These guys, all of those experiments that you had in this country, the real reality was about making sure that America stays a superpower. They ain't really worried about nothing else, because the real fuel that keeps this engine running is the destruction of the nation of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Right, Bishop. And you also said this, because of the slave trade, is the reason why America is a superpower today. You mean to tell me that they couldn't mention that in the video that you played?
Exactly. They couldn't mention this because that would have been wake-up time.
Right.
That might have brought us to the Bible. That might have brought some of our history. They said, we don't want you to know your history. We want to cut that off. And we don't want you to have no kind of vision for the future. We want you niggas to remain in. This is how they see us. We want you to remain in the middle and just be perfect consumers. We don't want you to know nothing about your past, and you have no vision for the future. Just be my slave today until you die out, and then I bring another group to do the same thing and keep us in power. That's how they build. Zimbardo, right? Yeah, Zimbardo. Thank you. All praises. Read on.
The slave trade is the reason why America became a global economic superpower, and everyone who was in America then benefited from that economy. They purchased homes.
This is what white folks did on stolen property. Go ahead.
Started businesses.
They started businesses.
And worked to build wealth.
They make this, now when you look at this and you think this was good, you think this was gotten by legal means. Watch that documentary that I just told you, The Canary Effect, and see what they did so that they could set up to be able to purchase homes, so that they could set up to be able to start businesses and work to build wealth. Then it says, while 99% of black Americans in those days could do none of those things. So if we couldn't do it back then, what make you think that we could really? If you don't have nothing to build on, we got to start from scratch now. So we are far behind the 8 ball. So we're going to continue to try to do, because the scriptures tell us that. But this is not our rest, brothers and sisters. This is not our rest. The Lord is going to destroy our enemies and destroy all this crap. But we have to come together and do what we have to do to survive so that we can get out of here. Okay, we got to keep our minds intact, keep our spirits intact. Okay? Go ahead, Captain. You had something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, just right quick. I want to go back because Officer Nashon was reading, and we could have went on a little further, but I want to point out Ezekiel 28. Yeah, Ezekiel 28. I want to go back to 5 where he read that, just to bring back the point where he left off at. Ezekiel 28 and verse 5, Officer Locke, if you would, please.
Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 5. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches.
That's there again. That's what we're talking about right now. They're even reading it right out of there. Read on.
And thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches.
You reading it in Daniel. You reading it in Daniel. Heart lifted up, and he said he's gonna set it in a seat as if he was God. Right. Well, let's read on. Read what else it says. Therefore, what?
Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God.
Ooh, as the heart of who?
God.
Read on.
Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee.
In the valley of Jehoshaphat, we read that in Joel, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, read on.
The terrible of the nations.
Read on.
And they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom.
There it is, right? Read on.
And they shall defile thy brightness.
Why are they going? Why is this going? The Most High going to allow this to take place? Read the next verse. This is my point here, and I'm gonna let it go. Verse 8.
They shall bring thee down to the pit.
They're gonna bring you down to hell. They're gonna bring you down to the pit. Read on.
And thou shalt die the deaths of them that are
slain. The deaths of who?
The deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas.
And of them that were slain in the midst of the seas. A lot of them didn't even make it over here to the land. A lot of them didn't make it over to the island of Jamaica. A lot of them didn't make it over to Puerto Rico. A lot of them didn't make it to out throughout. They died to death right there in the seas. The slain that was in the midst of the seas. Who was that? That was us. We showed you the cargo slave ship. Right. A lot of them didn't make it off that cargo slave ship.
Hey, Cap, but they don't think that this is going to happen to them. They think they're going to continue forever. But remember what we read in Daniel's, where it said he has confirmed his words. It said he confirmed his words. Guess what? The yokes of iron was confirmed. The slave ships was confirmed. The rape of your people was confirmed. The stealing of your land was confirmed. So when we read here that you're going to be destroyed, guess what? That's confirmed as well. Best believe your time is coming. It's coming. It's right here in this Bible. That's why they want to get rid of it, Bishop.
Right. Exactly. Yes, sir. Come on.
You want to go ahead, Bishop? Go ahead. I want to back up what also Nashan had just brought out. Read 12 and 13 together. Just a part of 13.
Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 12. Son of man, take up a lamentation.
No, Daniel 9 and 12.
Oh, yes, sir. Daniel chapter 9, verse 12. And he had confirmed his words which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
So like Bishop was just bringing out, that little meaningless Holocaust, that ain't had nothing to, that ain't nothing with the atrocity that was done to our people. Come on. When you can go on your phone and Google slavery and your people come up, they're telling you it was a great atrocity.
Right. That's another example of their obedience again. I just said 310 years of official destruction. That what happened to us in slavery. But yet these people got the audacity to put up there and say from the 30s to the 40s is a terrible thing. And they said their experiment was based on that. And then they said amongst other things. So they just
leave it out.
Just leave it out. And nobody questioned that. Why? Because the man in the lab coat said you ain't supposed to pay attention to that. The experiment requires you to omit that.
And what was the experience? All the way back in slavery when they was beating you, doing all of these things to you. Now you don't want to speak up against them. Why? Because you fearful, like we read earlier. You got so much fear on you now because of those generational things that curses that happened to you back then. You're still suffering from it.
All praise to the Most High. So, hey, next week Lord willing, we're going to get even deeper. I'm going to have my notes together next week. Okay, we ain't going to miss, but I think we pulled it off, right? We've got the rolling. We ain't get to put in any commercials in. Damn, he said that's good. I don't know. Things will be more together next week, Lord willing. But all praise to the Most High. Brothers and sisters, glad that you bared with us as we found the steering wheel and was able to take the training wheels off and get the ship moving. But we thank you again for joining us. We say happy Sabbath to you. All praise to the Most High. Hope that you stay in good health, and we pray for our brothers and sisters who are sick, who are going through trials and different things. It's time for us to band together and be our brother's keeper and be our sister's keeper, okay? We got much more to be teaching on, and our job is to illuminate our people with this great wisdom out of this Bible. So I'm Bishop Yahusat, Most High in Christ. Bless y'all, and we're going to close out, right? And let's say happy Sabbath to you. Go ahead.
The announcements real quick.
Yes, sir. Don't neglect to give alms. For those who would like to give alms, fill out an envelope and place it in the alms box. To give alms online, donate to IUIC Concord via PayPal at iuic.concord.nc@israelunite.org. Donate to the Booster Club via PayPal at iuic.fundraising@israelunite.org.
And with that, brothers and sisters, we say shalom, happy Sabbath. Is it
Happy
Shalom,
Sabbath.
Israel.
Wait. We got 5 more minutes, don't we?
Yeah,
We got 5. Do we got 5 more minutes? Any last thoughts? I know I had a scripture. I could bring out something. What could we do? And that's off the cuff.
What you got?
Huh? You got one? Say again?
Okay, read that on the screen.
Oh. What do I do?
IUIC TV.
Oh, IUIC TV, the Bible, the Book of Our Fathers. Okay. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Bible, the Book of Our Fathers. Oh, yeah, we have to get this in there. You know, so brothers and sisters, yes, let us make it our point to subscribe to the Bible, the Book of Our Fathers. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Bible, Book of Our Fathers, and we're also on IUIC TV. So this is a good thing. We're trying to do things in the right direction. My brothers and sisters, it's always a pleasure to come before you and to give you this truth, okay? I know I wish I had it many, many years ago before I learned it, and I suspect that the rest of us want to be in the know as well. Okay, we also want to thank our tech team, Officer Azaria, I said his name wrong, Officer Azaria, Officer Kazdiel, Officer Yehoshua, Officer Gidron, Soldier O'Shea, Soldier Israel, Soldier Gabriel, and Brother Micaiah. He's looking at me. All praise to the Most High. So, brothers and sisters, we say shalom to next week. Stay in the spirit. As Bishop would say, stay faithful, stay focused, and most of all, stay in the spirit. We love you, Israel. Shalom. Most High in Christ.
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom,
Most High in
Israel.
Christ
Most High in
bless.
Christ.
Shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ bless.
So.